Hello YouTube and welcome to Gospel Movements. So Gospel Movements, I believe this is number 4. So in this one, I'm really gonna try and unlock for you the major 7 chord. So this song is gonna be bass in G, right? So we'll look at studying some of the core concepts within this song. And the real gem behind this one is that there is a lot to dig in when it comes to major 7th chords. With this one, I'm specifically going to dive into the major 7 chord. This song just allows itself, it just makes itself a good subject to study the major 7th chord. So let's look at some of the chords in here. It starts on this major 7th here. Now what do I mean by major 7th? Well, first of all, let's look at a basic triad. Everyone should know what a basic triad is. If you don't know what a basic triad is, then maybe this is the right video for you. We'll start with a basic triad. Now this is a major triad, okay, as opposed to a minor triad. One of the ways we can turn a 3-note chord into a 4-note chord is by adding the 7th. This is a major 7th. Now we know 7ths come in 3 different varieties. We have a major 7th. It's going to be my dominant 7th because I'm playing a major chord here. Like that would be my minor 7th. That would make it a minor 7th. That would make it a half diminished 7th. Okay. But since we're playing major, we're going to say that's my 7th, dominant 7th. And there's my diminished 7th. Well, this is my 6th really. But if I was playing a diminished C, then that would be my diminished 7th right there. 6. But so the point is that 7 come in 3 different varieties. We have the major 7, we have the dominant 7th or the minor 7th, and then we have the diminished 7th. Okay, and sometimes you could look at this as, well, this is in fact a half diminished. But the good thing about the 7th is that they're easy to find because they're all just either a half step or a whole step away from the root, from the octave. C octave. If I go down half a step, I have a major 7th. Go below that a half step, I have a dominant 7th. Okay, and I'm probably going over ground that you guys already know, so I apologize for that. Let's just pick up the pace a little bit now. So when I play this 7th here, you should be able to identify some of the qualities here. So basically up here I have a 10th, right? I say a 10th because I'm really spreading the triad up so that the 3rd is played up an octave. And if I was to count from here, this is 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8, 9, 10. This becomes my 10th, right? Because the octave is 8. So I've got a 10th down here. It's just a triad, so nothing to worry about. Up here though, we'll get back to this. But I also have a B, B, E, G, and a B. So we know that the B is half step from the C, so that's going to be my major 7th. That's a 3rd, that's a 5th. Well, and I have another 7th up there. That's my major 7th. And this here is the 13th. Now, where do we get the 13th from? Let's look at the major triad. We have a major triad here. One of the ways we can extend chords from a 7th, when you have a 7th and you extend it beyond that, going beyond just the 7th, these notes here, the 2, the 4, and the 6 start to carry a different name. They start to carry their higher extension names because of the 7th. It's a bit of a celebrity. Without the 7ths, I know I've got a 2. I've got 4 and I've got a 6. With the 7th present, that becomes a 9, that becomes 11, that becomes a 13. Now I'll tell you something about 7ths. When you play major 7ths, the most common extensions you will use, especially in gospel, are the 9 and the 13. Rarely would we refer to the 11th. And when we have the 9th and the 13th, we don't really alter them because these extensions can be altered. They can be raised, they can be lowered. That could be raised or lowered. In fact, the 13th actually can't be raised because then it becomes the dominant 7th, right? So the 13th is just the 13th, and the 9 can be raised or lowered, and the 13th can be lowered, right? That is cool if we're playing a different quality of 7th note, but if we're playing the major 7th note, we just use the normal 9 and we use the normal 13, which is good for us because that makes things easier for us. And that's good for me specifically because I like easy things and I don't like to think too much. So here we have a C major 7 with a 13th. So it can simply be called a C13. Why? Because it's just convention that, you know, when you have the 13, generally we assume that the 9 is going to be there and the major 7 could be there possibly. We assume that they could be there possibly. So a C major 13, right? Call it C13 right there. This is where the song begins. Then we have another major 7 here, which is on G, and this is a G7, G major 7. but I have the 9 as well. Like I said, I'm happy to call this over G major 7 with a 9. So let's recap. And then I'm just shelling it down. So shelling is literally just playing the outside of a chord. So instead of playing a G7 like that, I'm just picking out 2 notes and just shelling those. So I could have the D in between, which is like the yoke. Think of that as the yoke, and then the shell. So the shell is just the outside of a chord. That's a C major chord. That's the shell of a C major chord. So let's go back again and recap. Okay, so I'm going back to my C major 13. I'm sliding off the 13 to the C major 7. And then what I play here, what we have here in between as a filler before we get to the G major 7 is just intervals of 4s. These are just perfect 4s. And it sounds futuristic, like computer-like. That's how I remember it. When I think of Microsoft or something like that, I always think of perfect 4s. So let me just quickly explain why these are perfect 4s. So from B to E is an interval of a 4th. From E to A is an interval of a 4th. So I've simply stacked 4s together. And this is why they sound so perfect and wholesome. Together they just sound, they give that, I don't know, it's a very specific sound or taste. It just sounds put together, machinery like, a computer like. That's how I describe them, but you can describe them however you want. So let's go back. There's my perfect 4ths. Back to the G major 7. Then here I'm going to do a 7-3-6 movement. Three. Okay. And we're not going to we're gonna go 7, 3, and then we're gonna go to the 4. This is why, because we change 4, D, E, and then end on the G7. Okay, so that's a lot to cover, but I hope that I've taught you something new, or I hope you've got something from this video. I really haven't got much time to dig in further, but there's going to be more gospel movements, so don't worry. Eventually, I think I'll end up covering everything, so if you just keep taking these under your belt, you should be fine in the long run. Just trying to think if there's anything I missed. I don't think so, but well, happy learning, happy playing. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys next week.